Form versus function is the topic of today's episode, and by looking at some of the more prominent features of the custom Widebody MR2 as opposed to that of the 86 Turbo, we can sort of highlight some of the differences and compare what it takes to build a full show car as opposed to that of a track-ready daily driver. Okay, so these are my toys. One is the classic, and one is the now, the contemporary. My MR2, which has won pretty much everything, every first place trophy you can name, and which is now retired, and I just go to the car meets and just have some fun. And you have the FRS, which I just built, not to park, but built to drive, built to go to the tracks, built to be functional, really. That's why I didn't really lower it that much. I just lowered it enough to give it the right look, but without getting too crazy. I'd rather have bigger tires for this car. And it's a hobby, but yet it's a passion, I guess you could say. Being a tuner is really about self-expression through cars, through just making it your own, putting it together the way you want to put it together. Like with the MR2, it's I wanted to build something that's classy, sort of exotic for the car that it is. Make it really extreme, but yet clean, without taking away the way it looks. And of course, to compete at the highest level. So everything top of the line and everything is just meant to be for show. So more form than function, really. Whereas the FRS is more, well, is equal, I guess, for me at least, function and form, because I want it to look good, even though without being too trendy, just kind of having my own style, having the red wheels that are Volks, which is real, not fake. Everything that is really more performance-based, but it's still showy because it's not just a clunker that I just trash and drive around the tracks. So it still has to look clean because for me, looks is important. But it's really more functional. It's really built to drive, built to enjoy and play. Whereas the MR2 is really, really just straight up eye candy. Park it somewhere and let people enjoy it. That's why I barely drive that car. Whereas the FRS, I could pretty much drive it everywhere and even take to the tracks. That's the beauty of it, It's really about the blank canvas. Like with the MR2, it has that sort of Ferrari-ish, exotic type look. And all I had to do was accentuate it and put the wide body, the wide wheels, and really accentuate how the MR2 could look. The possibilities of what it could look like. And then that's why it turned out the way it did. Whereas with the FRS, it has more of that JDM flavor, So I put some of the more, not so much JDM, but the more quality parts that I could put, carbon fiber, a little busier, but yet not too busy where you get caught up in the busyness rather than the whole car and the whole canvas itself. So, even though it's just me, putting these cars together, both cars represent a different look, a different flavor, if you will. You accentuate the way it looks. I mean, really to me, it's about adding, not subtracting. It's about amplifying the way it looks. Like if it's an FRS, it already has a certain look. Well, the MR2 would be considered now, at least, a more classic car because it's a 92. And it is clean, it is extremely wide. but you can't really tell. Like, you can't tell that the body kit's been put on it because it looks like it's molded in. You know, that's the craftsmanship of the body work. There it is. Those are my toys, and it's been tough. It's been a long journey, you know, from over a decade ago when I started this project with the MR2, and I said I wanted to build the ultimate MR2, I guess, show car, and I guess I did. I spent so much money, I actually broke the bank doing that. Went to all the shows, got all the first place trophies, the accolades, the magazine coverage, the videos, and all that. But, you know, in the end, it felt like I had enough. And I already got all the trophies. Why do I need more? So I just kind of stopped doing it. You know, went on my journey, and then now I decided maybe it's time to build another car, but in a different way. You know, different flavor, something more functional. You know, I wanted something that I can really drive more. I wanted something that got more performance oriented, if you will. And I'm not super worried about messing up the kit, because if I do, I can always replace it, right? Whereas with the MR2, it's one-off, so it would really be much more challenging to fix the MR2, and of course more expensive. So yeah, that's it. Cool. So this is my MR2 that I've been working on for, well, this is the show car that has won all the accolades and has now become not really a daily driver, but more of, I try to make it more practical, so I upgraded everything. It has a wide body, has the wheels, has a, you know, the upgraded turbo and all that good stuff. You know, this is where I put my whole heart and soul. These wheels, when they came out, it cost me about $1,000, $5,000. So this custom wide MR2 was created in a time which I would consider the golden age or the golden decade of modifying a JDM vehicle. This was around the early 2000s when a lot of the tuner events started blowing up, and there's a lot of shops, fabricators, and everyone else doing crazy builds. What really stood out back then was the fact that you could just go to different places to modify whatever it is you need to do. And the selection was sort of endless back then. It's not like today where it's really difficult to find a specialty shop to do certain types of modifications for your car. There's so many reasons as to why that's happened. You know, the economy, with today, with the inflation and everything else, a lot of shops no longer exist. A lot of the fabricators and tuners who were really good at doing one-off projects, you know, with my car, aside from the headlights or the body kit, which is custom made, I had to go to 3 different shops. I wasn't satisfied with the first 2, and then I finally had the third one finish everything the way I wanted it to. Custom wheels were created especially for the body kit, and everything else in the car that's been custom made. The interior, for instance, with all the modifications created, the quad splitter, the heads-up display, the 10-inch monitor in the front where everything had to be modified, the dashboard, which had to be created from scratch with the custom gauge pods. So all these were custom made, and you know, these shops that specialized in these types of work, it's just harder to come by nowadays. It's really difficult to find these types of places, and back then there are quite a few selection. There's a few different places where you could have taken your car. So all the custom work done on this car was a product of that decade where, you know, there was a lot of really great builds around the early 2000s, you know, again with the custom wide body created here and straightening out the paint job right here, the cameras, the engine work, the intercooler setup in the back. This is all custom made. There's pretty much everything in this car is no longer stock, as you could see, and it's all subtle, but you know, again, that's a custom wide body MR2 right there. Car looks clean though. Wow, that lowered look really. Yeah, so just having some fun with the Deuce. Trying to see what's going on. Check out my cameras right here. So looking at the 86 Turbo, this build is a little bit different than that of the custom Widebody MR2 because all the parts on that car has been fabricated from scratch, whereas the 86 is more about bolt-ons such as carbon fiber parts, Aeromotion's wing right here, the trunk, the hood, and then you got, you know, little things like the Buddy Club lights, of course, the wheels, the Volk TE37s, which is still sort of for show because they are 18-inch wheels as opposed to the 17 gram lights that I also have for this car. And you could tell the difference between the two when I drive with the 17s as opposed to the 18s, because the tires on this is also much bigger and meatier than that of the 17-inch wheels. So all the parts for the 86 is really mostly bolt-ons, as I mentioned, including the exhaust, the straight pipe, the bigger brakes. In the interior, it's really just about, you know, doing the gold trim as far as the trimmings, painting that gold. There's a Sparkle Racing seat that I added, and then there's also, of course, the gold roll cage that has been installed in the back, which has also been powder coated gold. So those are just sort of easy ways to do mods for the 86 as opposed to that of the MR2. But as far as custom work for the 86, it would be obviously the turbo kit and the oversized intercooler, as you can see right here. And I really made sure that the intercooler fit flush for this car without any pipes sticking out or without the intercooler being too small like you would see in some of the other 86 intercoolers. Here everything has been custom made, obviously the turbo, the piping, and the intercooler. And so that's what's been customized for the 86, if anything else. It's a different theme from that of the MR2. The MR2 is more show car, whereas the 86 is more of a quicker daily driver, which you can take to the tracks and also look good with the red Volks, or switch them off with the gold gram lights if you really want to take it to the tracks. So those are the two different types of builds, the 86 and the MR2. what's up? You see my ride? Look, check it out. Anyway. There's so much more stuff to talk about as far as the custom widebody MR2 and even the 86 Turbo. But if you guys have been following me or been watching some of my episodes, then you kind of have an idea of how I built, the MR2 or the 86. For the MR2, really, if you wanted to look back, or maybe you've missed previous episodes, and you wanted to see how I got this thing started, you could check the link posted up here. There are many other things that I can't really talk about here because there's just so much in terms of build, especially for the MR2. And if you wanted to see about some of the other things that I've added, perhaps the interior modifications such as the camera system and the quad splitter, the multimedia stuff, you can check the link I've posted up here as well. It'll take you to that episode. And a few other things as far as the MR2, like the other things that I talked about. It's always a work in progress. I even had Lambo doors for the MR2 at one point, just because, which I've already taken out, which I already removed and put back to stock. But if you wanted to find out more about that, you can also check out this link right here. I'm not going to post links on the FRS, but you guys feel free to check out some of the previous episodes that I have as far as the 86 Turbo build. That thing's tight.
It's tight.
Got the back right there, man. That thing's rubber. Check out my fender.
The yellow one is Peter's, but the white one right here is mine.
How's that?
So, sometimes on a weekend, like today on Sunday, I take them out just for a ride, just for fun, something different from every day. That's the things.
So that's going to do it for this episode. Again, I wanted to apologize for the background noise. That's because we're located right next to a shooting range. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this small conversation about form versus function, MR2 versus the 86 Turbo, show car versus track ready car or daily driver, whichever way you guys want to look at it. So until next time, drive safe and keep on rolling.